Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at two games, Marvel Dice Thrones and Kapow.
So Marvel Dice Throne is obviously a new entry in the Dice Throne series of games. It comes from Roxley Games and The Op, and obviously it has the Marvel theme to it with Marvel characters. As you can see, there are several different boxes here that we have. We want to thank The Op for sending us all that you see here from them. And then we have Kapow, which is a brand new game from Wize Wizard Games. They also sent us this copy for review, so we want to thank them. And so in this video, we're going to be doing something different, something we've never done before, where we compare two games. And the reason why we're doing that with these two particular games is because they're very similar. There's a similar idea, similar mechanics, similar gameplay. And so we wanted to compare and contrast these two games. With that, let's talk about some of the similarities that you have between these two games. It's dice rolling. That's the main mechanic with both of these games. You're going to be chucking dice throughout the game, several times throughout the game, and what you roll with those dice is going to determine what you're able to do on your turn, the actions that you will be able to perform. Both games are head-to-head combat. You are going to be going up against the other person that you're playing with or people that you're playing with. You can play in teams in both of these games, so you have 2v2, that sort of idea. And also, you have different characters that you can play as. Obviously, with the Marvel game here, the Marvel Dice Throne, you're going to be playing with Marvel superheroes and supervillains. With Kapow, it's a similar idea. You're going to be playing with superheroes and supervillains. It has a comic book theme to it. And that's the reason why we're doing Marvel Dice Throne. You could probably say the same idea with any of the Dice Throne games, as it's very similar to what Kapow offers. But because they're so similar in theme, we're going to compare these two games. Now, there are some differences between the two games. Marvel Dice Throne is going to have cards with it and special tokens that you have with each different character. So there's some asymmetrical abilities that are at play with the different heroes and villains that you play as. You don't really have that too much. There are some special tokens in Kapow, but not anything like what you have with Marvel Dice Throne. And you have no cards with Kapow. It's just the dice. But on that note, one of the things that makes Kapow completely different from Marvel Dice Throne is that those dice are customizable. You're going to be able to place little die faces on the dice that you roll with this game, and you get to pick and choose where you're putting them on that die. You get to pick which faces that you have with the different abilities that come with those faces. So it's a very customizable game, similar to Dice Forge if you're familiar with that game and how you could pop off the faces and attach new ones onto your dice. It's a very similar idea. Kapow also is going to be able to let you do solo play, and so you're not able to do that with Marvel Dice Throne. You can go up against the game itself with Kapow. And then lastly, one of the other final differences that I'll make about the two games here is that Kapow has simultaneous gameplay. And what that means is that you're going to be taking your turns at the same time. You have a shield that you will put up in front of you that will hide what you get on your dice rolls, where you're assigning your dice, the different actions that you will be doing. Whereas in Marvel Dice Throne, it's more traditional gameplay of I take a turn, you take a turn, and that's how it goes throughout the course of the game. So there you have it. That's the similarities and differences between these two games. Now we're going to talk about the things that we like and don't like about each of these games. So Sam, let's start with Marvel Dice Throne and talk about the things that we like about this game. So right off the bat, you are a huge Marvel fan. You're wearing a Marvel shirt right now. I don't know if you can see that from behind the boxes here. But you love Marvel, and so I got to imagine that's one of the pros that you really like about Marvel Dice Throne.
Yes, I like the characters. I like that it's the actions that you take all are fairly similar, but it's representative of your character.
Yeah.
And so that's fun to play your favorite character in the game.
Yeah, you really get a feel for actually being Thor when you're throwing Mjolnir at another player and hurting them.
Yeah.
Or you really feel like Doctor Strange when you're bending time and you're doing the things that are asymmetrical to that character, to that person. And with that, the artwork, the components, the production value, it really all feels Marvel. The artwork feels Marvel. It looks like Marvel on the table. And that's just a really eye-catching thing, right?
Yeah.
What other things did you enjoy about Marvel Dice Throne?
You can change the complexity level that you want to play. I'm just looking at the back here, but Miles Morales it's an easier one, whereas Doctor Strange is a number 5. Miles Morales is a 2. So you can kind of pick and choose how difficult you want to make the game, which I think is good to have that customizability for non-gamers.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, those rankings I feel are pretty accurate, because when you're playing with Doctor Strange, there's a lot more rules that kind of go into his cards, or not his cards, but his tokens and his actions on his player board. Whereas Miles Morales is not not as nearly complicated. It's more straightforward.
So you can kind of build up to a more complex game.
And you have several different characters that are all different complexity levels there, from 2 all the way to 5. Kind of begs the question of, well, what's a 1 in Marvel Dice Throne? Because as far as I know, I don't see a 1. And I know there's 1s in other Dice Throne series, but just talking about Marvel Dice Throne here. On that note, as you can see, there's 3 different boxes here for Marvel Dice Throne. And so with that, you have these expansions with characters that you're familiar with. And, I'm sure they're going to come out with more on down the road, because this is a very popular series of games.
And you don't need the big one. You can just buy.
Right. These are standalones.
Yeah, this one just has 4 characters.
Exactly.
So if you just want Black Panther and Captain Marvel, you can just buy this and still play the game.
Exactly, yeah. So that this being the base game and having more characters and it being a higher cost, you can, if it's just you and one other person that's going to be playing this game, you can buy one of the smaller ones and have a lower cost entry point to get into this gaming system here. Whereas with Kapow, you just have the base game. Now, there is going to be an expansion for this coming out on down the road, Volume 2, but as it is right now, this is just Volume 1. The card play that plays out in Marvel Dice Throne, it can produce really exciting, powerful turns when you have the right cards. Maybe you've been collecting those cards throughout the course of the game and you unload them all at one time. It really produces this game-changing event that can really get you caught back up in the game, or put down your opponent once and for all. It just really has the excitement of an actual super battle between a hero and a villain, or 2 heroes going head to head. It just really kind of has that thematicness attached to it with the card play that's with this game. So those are some of the things that we really enjoy about Marvel Dice Throne. Let's talk about some of the things that we're not too keen on. For me, one of the things that has always been a factor when it comes to just Dice Throne in general, let alone Marvel Dice Throne, is it does feel pretty luck-based when it comes to rolling your dice and drawing those cards out of your deck. There can be a lot of turns where it feels like I'm just not getting the dice that I need, and the cards that I'm drawing are continuously not good cards for me to use at this particular point in the game. I understand all cards have a time and place for them, but the cards I'm drawing right now aren't for what I need to be doing right at this point in the game. Yeah. So it does feel pretty luck-based, and I can be at the mercy of what I get on those dice and cards. Yeah. I know for you, Sam, one of the things you really struggled with was just how much you had to reference the game board and the text.
I do not want to have to, this sounds ignorant, I don't want to have to read, but there's a lot
I don't like reading.
Yeah, but you have to go back and read, and the text is small, and there's reading on the cards, and there's reading on the board, and there's reading on the little
player aid.
And I just felt like it took me much longer to really feel like I grasped the game. It almost takes a whole playthrough. And then that's one character. Each character is slightly different. And you would obviously catch on after you've played with any characters one time. You're going to catch on with another character quicker. But it's a lot. And I feel like it could be, even just the look of it could be overwhelming for a non-gamer.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And leading into another thing about this game that some people may feel is a con for it, us included, it's more asymmetrical than what meets the eye. And what I mean by that is you look at it, and yes, each character is going to be different and it has its own complexity level attached to it. But even if you're somebody who's familiar with the way Dice Throne plays, if you've played some of the other Dice Throne games, for instance, you might go into this having a certain level of confidence that you can just go into it and know how to play it. And I wouldn't say that that's something that you should do whenever you're unboxing this and getting it to the table for the first time, because each character plays wildly different. Yeah. And you're gonna need to reference what each character does, the timing of their actions, when they take place, because Doctor Strange plays incredibly different than Captain Marvel. And just because you played Captain Marvel doesn't mean that you can come right to the table and ready to play Doctor Strange. You're going to need to go through...
And that's difficult for a non-gamer because they could feel confident after playing one character, then they want to play it again, they play a different character.
And it's just a different experience.
Yeah, depending on the complexity and things like that. So
now, for some of you out there, you may hear us say that, and you might see that as a pro, that each character is so wildly different. And I would agree that that can be a pro for it. But if you're gaming with a casual or non-gamer, it can have a negative impact on that gameplay experience for sure.
Yeah, so I think with a non-gamer, confidence is a big thing. And so games that change every time you play them, that confidence is going to take a lot longer to come.
Yeah. So that's where we're at when it comes to Marvel Dice Throne. Let's switch over here to Kapow. Again, a very similar game. Lots of similarities in the way the game plays out, thematic-wise even. This is a game where you're going to be playing one person as a superhero, one person as a villain. So that's one difference there right off the bat, because you're going to primarily be having superhero against superhero in this, depending on how you look at Loki or Scarlet Witch for that matter. Are they superheroes or are they villains? I don't know. This, you definitely have superheroes and supervillains. So that could be a pro. And in fact, for me, it is a pro, because it feels more true to the theme of superheroes. Yes, I'm sure in Marvel there's times when superheroes go up against one another, Civil War, whatnot, but for the most part, you're wanting to experience Iron Man against, Whiplash, for instance, or Captain America against Crossbones. That's the kind of experience you have here with Kapow. You're going to have a superhero against a supervillain. And with that, the characters are maybe a little generic. You know, it's your standard strongman superhero, or the superhero that controls time against this bad guy who's got magical abilities, for instance. You know, they feel a little more generic, but it is superhero, supervillain stuff. So, Sam, what about Kapow were the things that you really liked that stood out to you?
I love the customizable dice. I have not played with a game like that before. I'm sure Lance has, but I've never played with a game where you get to put the faces on the dice before. And I liked that freedom. You could have a dice that has all lightning bolts on it or whatever. And I really enjoyed that. I did feel like I liked no cards. Card games are hit or miss, or cards that have games in them can be hit or miss. Mm-hmm. And I really liked no cards. I liked just playing the dice, which is luck based, but I really enjoyed the fact that you could choose to play either an offense or defense or both, and splitting up your dice however you wanted to make that work for you. And then there's this, for lack of a better explanation, the store where you could use your dice to collect more dice, or even some of the offense and defensive positions would give you them as well. And then you could add on to that. I liked the board. I liked where I could put my dice. It was very clear where you could put them, what you could do with them. And it gave me a lot more confidence in playing because I wasn't having to ask Lance for clarification after the first one or two times. Yeah, for sure. To kind of summarize some of the things Sam's saying there, you know, with these customizable dice, and you know, that, like Sam said, that they're
is some choices that you have with that. I would say there's a stronger agency tied into what you're doing, the game plan you're trying to unfold as you're playing the game, because I can really push for getting a customizable die that really helps me beef up my attacks. Or I can get it to be very strong on shields. Or if I'm somehow able to get wilds, I can make this die be completely wild so it's whatever I need it to be. You have a wide array of choices that you are able to enact on your turn with these customizable dice. Whereas you don't really experience that too much with Marvel Dice Throne. You're as we said, you're at the mercy of what you roll. The dice are what they are.
Yeah.
The cards are what they are. With this, you get to pick and choose what that dice roll is going to turn out to be for you. So I do enjoy that. I like that a lot about this game. It makes it feel more like a deck builder or bag builder kind of game, which those are some of the games that I like the most. You mentioned that the game board is easier to understand.
Yes. The iconography is very clear. It's pictures of the dice. So you're just matching. And then it's pretty, I think I had a few questions, like I needed to make sure, hey, is this what I think it means? But it's very clear. There's very little reading. It's just looking and matching, and just knowing where you need to put your dice. Yeah,
exactly. The iconography is very clear with this game, and it's an easier entry point for casual and non-gamers, I feel like. It's a game that is more intuitive. It's a more streamlined, simple process to understanding how a turn works. And on that note, the turns are simultaneous, and so it's a quicker game.
Yeah.
You're getting to the action quicker, and turns are snappy, and you're attacking. Well, I'm defending, and like Sam mentioned with the offense and defense, you're doing both a lot of times on your turn of attacking and defending. You're splitting up your dice to be able to do that. And then you've got the store aspect, like Sam talked about, where you're being able to use your turns to produce bigger and better turns down the road. So the game sort of builds on itself like a deck builder would. So a lot of things that we really like about Kapow, but there are some things that we're not too fond of. Sam, what were some of the things that you didn't enjoy?
I think I could not tell you if I was a good guy or a bad guy. I don't remember. I don't. And it didn't matter to me. It didn't.
Okay.
And I'm fine with that. I don't need a theme for the game to be good, if that makes sense. I don't need to know, oh, I was a good guy and this is my superheroes. I do not remember. So if you're playing a game, Lance said he enjoyed that aspect of Kapow, but it wasn't the same as with Marvel. Marvel, I know I was playing Scarlet Witch. I know I was playing Doctor Strange. I don't know what I was playing with Kapow, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, the theme is maybe a little pasted on with Kapow. As I mentioned earlier, they're kind of more generic characters. I mean, they're not going to be characters you recognize and know, obviously. It's not a licensed product. But like Sam said, it didn't matter too much. There are times whenever it sort of feels like, okay, I guess I'm just hitting you with a big punch or an even bigger punch. And that can, I guess, be a little less exciting than knowing I'm hitting you with Mjolnir. I think it depends on why you're playing it. I really enjoyed just the gameplay, so I didn't need to know what my dice were doing. I just needed to know I was beating Lance. And that was it. Yeah, the outcome is more important, in other words, some other things. Obviously, there's not as many characters to play with as there is in a more established game such as Marvel Dice Throne. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the video, there are going to be more characters for this on down the road, so that is something they're already addressing. And with that, I anticipate it to be a wider array of experiences that you can have playing as the different characters in this game. But as it is, this base game only has 3 superheroes, 3 supervillains. So you're limited to a smaller array of characters to play as. And the look of the game is fine. It's an all right game. It's not bad. In my opinion, it's not as good as Marvel Dice Throne. I know you probably feel different on that. I felt different because Kapow was... It's lighter. It's easier to read. Marvel is very Marvel, and it's dark. It's very nice artwork, but as far as playing and reading and all that stuff, Kapow was just simpler to understand, and I appreciated that.
As crazy as it is to say, Kapow looks more comic book-esque than Marvel Dice Throne does, despite it being Marvel.
It looks like the classic comic book. And Marvel, I think, was going off more the cinematic universe than
a little
the comic
bit,
book.
Yeah, for sure. So there's our pros and cons for both of these games, but let's get to the heart of the matter, which game we prefer more and our scores for these two games. Sam, I'm going to let you go first. What score would you give Marvel Dice Throne? What score would you give Kapow? And which do you like more?
Well, I think my scores will tell you which one I like more, but I would give Marvel Dice Throne 7.2.
Okay.
It was a good game, and I'd probably play it again. I love Marvel, so I want to like it more. I just felt like the card play was very luck-based. I didn't feel like I was very good at it, and I didn't have the thrill like I did with Kapow. I really enjoyed Kapow. So far, it's probably my top game of 2023 in the first 29 days.
It's at the top for now.
Yeah, but I would give it an 8.5. It's a game that I want to play again, and I think our kids could probably play Kapow a lot easier than they could play Marvel. Even though Marvel says 8+, I don't feel like that's accurate.
Yeah, I don't think that's accurate either. I'm glad you brought that up because,
I think it's like 12+.
I was going to say 14 even.
Yeah.
With as much text as there is on everything and the decisions that you really have to make, I suppose if you're just okay with going off of what the dice are and not taking too many chances and doing smaller actions on your turn, you could play with an 8-year-old and that would be fine. But to get the bigger, better thrill of the game.
I will say with the shield that you have on Kapow, which we didn't talk about, you have that shield that hides everything. Our kids would cheat.
Yeah, so you could have
easier
to cheat with Kapow for sure. Right, yeah. And on that note, I'm glad, Sam, you brought up the shields because we didn't speak about that, but the shielding does help create these exciting turns where you don't know what I'm crafting over here. You don't know my schemes, my plans, which sort of feels thematic because that's what supervillains do. They scheme, they plan, and the superhero is always ready there to counteract those plans, to foil them in the last second. So it does sort of feel thematic as far as that goes. So my scores for these two particular games, they're very similar. I have similar feelings for both games, and I feel like both has its own time and place to play. For Marvel Dice Throne, I'm going to give it a 7.6. I like it more than Sam because each character does feel radically different, and so there's lots of replayability with that. And I'm more keen to kind of push through those more complex characters and really understand them than maybe what Sam would be willing to do. Yeah, I wasn't going to say that, but sure. I enjoy that aspect of it. And so because of that, I do have a stronger tie to that game. But I think I do like Kapow more too. I'm going to side with Sam on this one. I think Kapow is the game that would be more likely to get to the table, not just in our home, but I think it's a better game simply because of how you have that agency factor of what you can make your dice become. And the second half of the game, what it feels like I've created this superhero and their abilities that they're able to do. That's fun. That's a fun experience. And you don't really get that with Marvel Dice Throne. So Kapow, I'm going to give it a 7.9. It's a game that I like more than Marvel Dice Throne. I don't know that I like it as much as Sam likes it, but I do enjoy it. I think it's a great game.
I came to the table with Kapow in a bad mood. We had to play a game. I needed to play. And I left really enjoying it. And I feel like that's not
got to say something about it. Yeah, for sure.
And I don't even think did I win? I don't even know if I won. So the fact that I gave it an 8.5 and didn't win.
I think it was a very close game because I think I beat you by 1 point. Yeah.
So usually if I lose,
it's a bad game if I lose.
It's not as high.
Well, there you have it, guys. That's our thoughts on both of these games. Marvel Dice Throne from Roxley and the Op, and Kapow from Wize Wizard Games. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about both of these games. If you've had a chance to try either of them, or if you want to try them, let us know what you think about them. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe down below.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.